Morning on this Saturday, January 11th. Brian Holland with Rich Tarr on our third Explorer Game Day breakdown. Nothing better for me, Richie, than spending my Saturday morning talking A10 hoops with you, brother.
Yeah, looking forward to a great game today, hopefully by the Explorers.
So the last time these two teams met, it was in Brooklyn almost a year ago. Tell us about that game, 75-73, great game in the A10
Yeah, it was
quarters.
well, LaSalle got off to a good start winning their first round game against GW 61-60. Had an opportunity to beat the Bonnies, Deshaun Shepard, if you remember, at the buzzer, misses, just couldn't quite connect on a follow-up dunk at the buzzer that
We were
cascaded
sitting
off the
right
rim.
there underneath the basket. We were
Yeah,
right
we sure
there.
were. And of course, then the Bonnies would go on to beat the regular season champion Loyola Chicago in a double overtime game before they lost out to Duquesne 70-60. And of course, Duquesne goes on to win the A10 tourney last year. And we had a great time up there, if you remember, with the voice of LaSalle, Kale Bears, spending the weekend up at Brooklyn. And you and I were running around the arena, Barclays Center, like we own the place.
Yeah, and then we rented that B&B. We had a nice aerial view of the city. It was great. Fire, just great times. Great times.
Yeah.
Um, but from that Bonaventure team last year, they really only have one returning contributor, Noel Brown. They have 10 new players this year, and Mark Schmidt felt, and he said recently when Andy Katz interviewed him that last year. He didn't feel they were long enough and athletic enough. What's different between last year's team and this year's?
Well, I think, when you make a huge overhaul on your roster like that, you're never really sure how that's going to come together. But I really think that Mark Schmidt struck gold with this team. Just one returning player. Um, they play extremely well together. And that's the biggest difference, I think, between last year's team and this year's team. They really play cohesively as a team, both on the offensive end and the defensive end of the floor.
And then every coach we talk to, and that's what it's about. How quickly can that team develop the chemistry? And Dumpf is a genius at it. Frank Martin told me at the St. Joe's game the other day, Dumpf could take 5 chairs and get them to play together. And I think Mark Schmidt's the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a talent. I mean, I think a lot of time the difference between there's a lot of good coaches in college basketball, but I think the difference between the good ones and the great ones are the great ones know how to lead men. And I think that's the big difference, getting them to do what you want them to do.
And now, not only can Mark Schmidt get guys to do what he wants them to do, now bombshell news beginning of the season this summer. Woj left ESPN and went to his alma mater to be the general manager. How big is that?
Well, Adrian Wojnarowski, when you look at, the age of NIL and, he signs on to his alma mater, St. Bonnie's, as the new general manager. And you just kind of look at how the game has changed, and it's now you need a general manager. And why do you need a general manager? Well, let's look at some of the duties that he's responsible for. NIL opportunities, big deal these days, right? Transfer portal management, recruiting, family and alumni relationships, right? And last but not least, professional player programs and fundraising. I mean, it's almost like the job was built for him, right? But you have to credit him, much like you have to credit, Fran Dunphy at LaSalle. You say, well, first of all, um, Woj took a big pay cut. He had a lucrative ESPN contract, and he took a big pay cut to come to St. Bonnie's. And you say, well, why would he do that? Well, same reason Fran Dunphy's coaching at LaSalle. He's doing it for the love of his university. And that's a big thing to say. Woj and his wife Amy have been big benefactors, uh, both contributing to the athletic program and the communications program at St. Bonnie's. So their love for the university is absolutely there.
And it's scary. He brought in the wrestling belt. I know you're a big you and Train are big boxing fans, so just a lot of juice right now, and he is a huge asset to that program. So let's do some Rock's rapid fire Bonnie personnel here. I'm just going to throw four of their players at you and tell us a little bit about the roster. Let's start with Melvin Council Jr., the rating A10 Player of the Week.
Yeah, I mean, Melvin stepped into the role of point guard when Desante Brown got injured. And that's something I know a little bit about. I came out of high school as a two guard, and then, in order to get time with LaSalle, I had to transition to point guard. And it's not an easy transition, but he's handled it extremely well. Um, you know, uh, he's an elite penetrator who likes to go downhill. I mean, likes to get out in the open court. Um, LaSalle's best chance of stopping him is to guard him, stay in front of him in the half court, make him shoot the outside shot. He's not a bad outside shooter. He's just an elite penetrator.
And Mark Schmidt calls him the alpha dog. He said he's our guy who just has that it factor. So he is going to be tough to guard. Chance Moore.
Chance is an athletic wing player. Certainly good rebounder. LaSalle's going to have to box him out, likes to crash the boards. And he's capable of stepping out and hitting a 3-point shot.
Noel Brown. We talked about the one returner from last year.
Yeah, 6'11", 255 pounds, very physical player, can score with either hand on the inside, likes to turn around jump shot, sets a lot of ball screens. LaSalle's going to have to fight over those screens.
And the last one, Elijah Jones.
Yeah, Elijah's a lefty. He's a stretch four. Guys all over the court, looking to set up for three. Good driver as well. He's a great all-around player.
So now we'll talk about the keys to the game. And first of all, St. Bonaventure is first or second in a number of categories in the A10. One of them being, defensive points given up, 61.4 a game. They love to play in the gaps, get steals. So let's talk about the keys to the game. And as you're talking about them, I'm just going to pull a little graphic up here. So let's talk about the first key to the game.
Well, LaSalle's going to have to move the basketball, right? I mean, we've seen it in the last couple of games. I mean, against Loyola Chicago, they made some really difficult shots, and I just don't think that they can continue to expect to make those type of shots on a regular basis. So what do you have to do? You have to set screens, move the ball, and get your guys open, right? So that the guards aren't forced to go one-on-one.
And that's, shooting percentages go down when you got to go one-on-one, and that's certainly not something we'd want to do today. Second key to the game.
Well, they got to keep their head on a swivel. They got to not allow themselves to be screened, and they got to be in good help defensive position to stop them from getting inside the paint.
Protecting the paint is huge. And, Mark Schmidt in that Andy Katz interview as well said he believes the college games today are won going downhill, getting to the basket. And
absolutely,
that's going to be
well, interesting enough that you say that, because this team, St. Bonnie's, actually has made more foul shots than their opponents have attempted. And that's because of exactly what you said. They play going downhill and they force the action.
And not to get distracted from point three, but Schmidt was asked, how can we get to our ceiling this year, be our best? And he said, half court offense. We have to put in more specials and just really, if we want to be really good, improving the half court offense. And the third key for today.
Bonnies are going to send 5 to the glass. LaSalle's got a 1 box out, secure the rebound. And I would even go as far as saying, pick your chances at sending a guy when you have a secure rebound running out and try to make them pay for sending 5 to the glass.
That's a great point. And the Explorers played at Dayton. Some of these guys, it's going to be their first time playing in Olean at the Riley Center. What's that going to be like? Because that place can be as nuts as anywhere in the country.
Yeah, I mean, as players, I've always looked forward to those environments. The last thing you want to do as a player is go into a arena with not a lot of fans and not a, I mean, you either want to go into an arena where everybody's with you or everybody's against you. It's what makes the juices flow. So from that standpoint, I think, these athletes are ready to compete.
I can remember, teams coming in there, and I mean, they'd have stuff thrown at him, change, and John Chaney would have to take his timeouts like at mid court because he was getting so much stuff thrown at him. But just your final thought today, going into this game.
Well, I would say, LaSalle has to take care of the basketball. They've got to play good defense. Obviously, if you make shots, it's going to slow down the Bonnies a little bit. Um, the Bonnies are going to play good defense, and LaSalle must run good offense. I mean, that's the key to the game for me today. Obviously, above and beyond, obviously, turnovers, rebounds. It's running good offense.
Can't wait. 12 o'clock start. Tune in to Kale Beers on LaSalle Radio. And one last question. We've starting to get some followers now, and I had a couple questions, and this one's for you. The last game, Rich, what type of cologne were you wearing that was sensational?
Oh man, you know what? It's I forget the name. You should have prepared me for that because I do have it upstairs. But I actually told my wife the story the next day, and she was smiling because she actually bought me the cologne for Christmas last year.
Well, I don't know where she got it, but I tell you what, I had trouble concentrating when we were doing our pregame. Outstanding, high level. Last but not least, as always, Richie, what do we say?
Go
Go
Explorers.
Explorers.